Please welcome Senior Advisor to the President for International Climate Policy, John Podesta.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope everyone's here in the audience is ready to race to the top, as the Secretary charged us with. Let me start by thanking Bloomberg Philanthropies, EDF, and C2ES for hosting this event, and thanks to my colleagues, Secretary Yellen, Secretary Vilsack, and Secretary Granholm for their partnership in this. As Secretary Yellen noted, from day one, President Biden set out to tackle the climate crisis with every tool in our toolkit, both at home and abroad. He rejoined the Paris Agreement and reestablished U.S. climate leadership on a global stage. He passed the largest climate and clean energy investment in history, the Inflation Reduction Act, which slashes emissions from the power sector, from transportation, from buildings, from industry, and as you heard, from agriculture and forestry. The Inflation Reduction Act, as Secretary Granholm noted, is government-enabled but private sector-led, and we've seen a tremendous response already with over $400 billion of announced investments in clean energy manufacturing and deployment. In order to deploy clean energy at the pace and scale that the climate science demands, we need to harness the capital and the innovative capacity of the private sector. As I noted, we have seen a tremendous response, particularly to the IRA, but even more work is needed to get additional private capital off the sidelines and support businesses big and small, as well as partners in other countries that are building climate solutions and sustainable economic growth. High-integrity carbon markets can do that and help accelerate our progress towards a net zero world, but only if we do what it takes to get them right. Carbon markets need to support the climate ambition that climate science demands of us. They need to represent real, additional, permanent emissions reductions and avoid leakage when emission reductions from one place are simply replaced by increased emissions someplace else. They need to deliver the finance that developing countries need to help lead building their clean energy economies and protecting their natural resources. They need to create the confidence that investors need to participate. They need to incentivize high-quality emissions reduction activities that we need now, as well as carbon removal technologies that we'll need in the long term. They need to spur activity both at home and abroad, especially helping our partners in developing countries grow entire sectors of their economy in a climate-friendly way. And they need to deliver direct, tangible benefits for communities and workers who have often been left out and left behind, and for the indigenous peoples who are on our frontline defenders of tropical forests. That's a lot. They need to do a lot, but we believe, and as you've heard from our cabinet secretaries today, the federal government has been and can be involved in initiatives that have shaped voluntary carbon markets for well over a decade. From the State Department's influence, and particularly the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate Office's influence, I want to give a special shout out to Secretary John Kerry for all the work he's done on these topics. And the work they've done on these markets through work on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement and cutting emissions from global aviation, and to stand up initiatives like the Energy Transition Accelerator, which aims to speed the transition from fossil fuel to clean power in developing countries, and the LEAF Coalition, an effort to financially reward developing countries for protecting tropical forests. To the Department of Energy, as you just heard from Secretary Granholm's direct purchases of carbon dioxide removal credits, to the Department of Agriculture's new authorities on third-party verification and technical assistance for carbon markets under the growing Climate Solutions Act. Today, the Biden administration is taking another significant step forward to strengthen this ecosystem by releasing new principles for responsible participation in voluntary carbon markets. These principles clarify the U.S. government's approach to engaging with and shaping these markets. They make clear that we value robust standards and high integrity to ensure that 1 ton actually equals 1 ton of emissions reduction or removal, and that credit buyers support their purchases with credible action. They say that buyers that use credit should first prioritize measurable emissions reductions within their own value chain. They urge these markets to avoid social and environmental harm and to support co-benefits like jobs and conservation of biodiversity. They emphasize the critical importance of ensuring that voluntary carbon markets provide opportunities for full and equitable participation of developing countries. And they support the transparency by setting high expectations for public disclosure of purchased and retired credits. These principles are about laying our marker as a U.S. government on how this one type of tool can best support our climate goals and complement the rest of our climate and clean energy efforts at home and on the international stage. We're grateful to our partners inside and outside of government who've made today possible, and we know that together we can build voluntary carbon markets that can support communities, accelerate the energy transition, and protect our planet. Thank you.